Welcome to the DFS Army YouTube channel. I am Razzle11, and you can find me on Twitter at Razzle11Grinds. Gonna take a look at some pitching for today, Sunday the 21st. We have an 11-game main slate on DraftKings, and as always, I'll be looking at DraftKings because that is where a majority of my action is played. First look at the weather. Looks like we are pretty clear. Should have no issues at all. Some pretty decent environments for hitting on the slate today. But yeah, let's dig in since this is all about pitching. Framber Valdez obviously going to be the top option, I believe, overall. Coming off a rough start against the Cubs, and I say rough because he just made one big mistake. I believe it was a three-run home run. Um, Otherwise, before that, he had looked fine. A bunch of strikeouts. Strikeouts are up recently. Oakland just not very good. So uh, really no questions about Valdez at all. Kershaw can always put up a great performance. Hasn't been very good on the road. Did shut down St. Louis in LA earlier this year. But I think with how the Cardinals have been swinging it, Arenado getting hot and all that, I think Kershaw could struggle a little bit. So right now I'm leaning on the fade with Kershaw. Uh, Kind of see as we dig in later. I may update it, but right now the plan would be to fade him. Scherzer, uh, I think people just have like the bad games in mind all the time, and they forget about these strong performances. Now I get he hasn't had the K upside uh, that we're typically used to seeing from Scherzer, but I think this is a pretty good spot for him. I know Cleveland doesn't strike out all that much, and he can struggle, obviously, but wind looks like it's blowing in New York. They do have a doubleheader today, so I wouldn't be shocked if they try to get Scherzer through, 7 innings, 6 or 7. He hasn't gone six since the first start of the year, so that is worrisome. But the fact that he's the third highest priced pitcher is intriguing enough for me. Gausman taking on his former team, the Orioles, gets to do so at home, where he's been ridiculously good, just a ton of strikeouts um, all year overall, but even more so at home. He can withstand giving up a few runs, 3 runs and a home run last time out, and still put up almost 28 DK points. He does have some blow up in him. He has multiple starts this year where he's allowed 8 runs, which is kind of shocking for a guy that of his caliber. But I have no problems using him against Baltimore. Uh, Baltimore is a difficult opponent, but I think he's in a good spot, and he's obviously you know a top tier pitching option. So I am not afraid. I think I'd gladly use him over Kershaw today. Merrill Kelly uh, allowed 1 earned in 3 out of 4 of the last 6 starts. Is giving up home runs, but he's striking more guys out. Has been absolutely disgusting on the road so far this year. So that stands out here. The wind is blowing out in Pittsburgh, but I'm not sure that it affects the game all that much based on the setup of the ballpark. The Pirates did get the Gallon, which shocked me, but prior to that, they've been pretty cold at the plate. So I think Merrill Kelly's certainly in play. Tanner Bibby, certainly coming off his best start at the major league level, going 7 2/3, 98 pitches. He did get a couple extra days rest in there thanks to the rainout. The Mets haven't been all that great, so I don't have a problem going with Bibby. I just might not use much of him at this price point. George Kirby has had some really strong performances. 4 out of the last 5, he's gone for 21 plus. Really tough matchup. Logan Gilbert just dominated against the Braves. Uh, but the weather in Atlanta is just great for hitting right now. I'll probably put him kind of in the dart throw category on site just because he has the upside. I just don't really want to pick on Atlanta all that much. Um, but by the looks of it, we might have to expand our pool to include somebody like him because I'm not really seeing a ton to love overall pitching wise, even though it is an 11 game slate. Don't really want to use Freddie Peralta against Tampa Bay. Uh, Maybe I need to consider him, but he's been really bad on the road. Those numbers are pretty ugly, coming off a really ugly start against St. Louis. He's, I mean, he is one of those guys that just has the upside when it clicks. But do we really want to put our money on a pitcher going into Tampa Bay and shutting down that offense? I don't really want to right now. Uh, Philadelphia game with Justin Steele, one of my favorite pitchers in all of baseball. Hasn't been super sharp the last few. K numbers jumped back up, which is nice to see, but he made some mistakes. Um, Against the tough Houston squad, Philly is definitely a tougher lineup. Wind's blowing in at about 14 miles an hour. It is going to be warm though in Philadelphia. I think Steele might be a very strong option. We're getting him at a discount when he was over 10K at one point. I think in this matchup, he probably has upside to around 25 DK points. And so at 8,300 compared to some of the other options we have to really like that, um, even if the matchup isn't ideal. Josiah Gray against Detroit seems to be a pretty strong option for me. The wind's blowing in Washington, which is nice to see because it seems like whenever we get some decent pitching options in Washington, the wind ends up blowing out. But uh, hasn't been super sharp the last couple. Walks have gotten him. Strikeouts have kind of come down. Great ground ball rate though. Extra day rest. Nope, he pitching on normal rest here after 104 pitches. But we know the Detroit lineup is pretty weak overall. He is a minus 135 favorite as of right now. So definitely going to be an option for me. Andrew Haney going to be an option, unfortunately, because I just hate how erratic he is and how he just doesn't pitch deep because he just racks up pitch count. Um, I don't I don't expect seeing this. I pointed out whenever he's on, like this should end up his being his season high in fantasy point performances. So I'm not gonna chase that, but at 7,700 we don't have to expect to get that. He's coming off a great performance, but it was against Oakland. Colorado, not as bad as Oakland, but they aren't very good. Um, so there is going to be plenty of upside. He hasn't been good at home. That's the one big issue here. He's actually been atrocious at home. So that is there's some worry there, but the matchups there, upsides there. So I am going to go to him. Um, I'll be mad at myself if he ends up giving up 4 or 5 runs in 4 innings because I just didn't trust my initial beliefs on him. But the spot just seems like it's too good to pass up at 7,700. Flaherty, I don't know if I can do it. Um, he had a strong start against Seattle from a K standpoint, put it up, was pretty good. Then back and struggled against the Dodgers, and then had a few bad starts, and then all of a sudden he put it together against the Brewers despite walking a couple guys early. I don't know that he can follow it up with another strong start, and he's facing the Dodgers team that did just, they did strike out a decent amount, but they still hit him around too. So I'm just not really all that interested in Flaherty, and if he beats me again, then I don't. Maybe I have to consider him, but I probably, am just going to ride the fade and hope it continues. Lance Lynn, pretty solid matchup, but he did struggle the last time against the Royals. Uh, he's a pretty big minus 190 favorite right now, but the game does have a total sitting at 9.5. Um, so when I look at our weather station, it looks like the wind is blowing out to right field at about 9 miles an hour. It's going to be in the upper 70s in Chicago, so maybe that plays a part into it. But I mean, he has been giving up runs. Like he's just been able to offset it in spots with big strikeout numbers. And strikeouts are definitely key. So I think he's gonna have to be in play for me. Um, but I do think I'd go with Haney over him. But Lance Lynn at the price, matchup's decent enough. I think he has to be in play. So there we have it. Kind of the look. I don't really see much else to consider for me down here. Maybe you guys can find something. If you do find somebody that I didn't bring up that you are considering, hit the comments below. Let me know what you're thinking. If you like what I bring to you, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn the notification bell on. Make sure you get the notification every time we drop videos here at DFS Army. If you want to join us, get access to our tools, join us in chat. I will put links in the description below. You can use promo code RAZ, that's RAZ, for 10% off. And as always, best of luck, everybody.